Hey there, Scott Joseph Moore here. I wanted to talk today about my piece of artwork. It's titled Anonymous Self-Portrait, and it has to do with some issues that I had when I was young. I got off on the wrong foot, got into the wrong crowd, and did all the wrong things and made all the wrong decisions and ended up in a place where I didn't want to be. I had to either stop all the drinking and the partying, drugging, all the stuff that I did, or I would end up in the ground. And this was done after I managed to pull myself away from that lifestyle. And I did it to honor the people that sort of stayed behind and kept doing what they were doing. They kept on partying, basically. And some of them now have died. Some of them have, managed to pull themselves out of it as well. So I feel very grateful to be out of that lifestyle. In 1994, I created this piece out of terracotta clay. It's all hand built, so therefore it's hollow. Basically, I had to work from the inside and the outside to create the hand built clay sculpture here. I've been working art, I've been making art since I was 5 years old, and I knew back then even that I was going to be an artist, and I got waylaid by the drink and by the whole party lifestyle. But anyway, I made this piece to, let's say, the human element of being an alcoholic and of being addicted to drugs or addicted to that lifestyle of carefree, who gives a damn what happens to me. One of the elements of it is that I think most of the people that I've met in it, including myself, I feel like we lost our self-esteem somewhere along the road, and we started to go down a road that we weren't necessarily wanting to go down, but it's sort of cumulative over time. The effects of these, especially alcohol being a depressant, over time you don't really realize that you're getting into this rut, and you're constantly making the rut deeper and digging and digging and digging, until finally you realize that you may not be able to find your way out of this hole. And that's at least what I realized. And at 22 years old, I realized that I had maybe gone too far already, and I was really feeling like I was coming close to death of alcohol poisoning or some other tragic event that would happen that would put my lights out for good. But getting back to our friend here, Anonymous Self-Portrait, I basically channeled all of those things, a lot of them negative, but some of them even positive, that came about during my drinking and partying years. Having a great time, going to rock concerts every weekend. I was doing a lot of rock concerts. Grateful Dead, Jethro Tull, Neil Young, all of these great groups, including I got to see Pink Floyd twice, which was the pinnacle of my rock and roll concert career. So Pink Floyd had a big influence on music, had a big influence on my art career, my visual art career, as did the movies. I was always, and books. Stephen King, one of my favorite authors, especially when I was younger. Every time he came out with a new book, I'd get it and read through it, be done with it, and I'd be like, when's the next book coming out? This guy's got to write more. And but I love to read other authors, and I read them in between, Clive Barker and people like that. And I was always interested in horror and fantasy and science fiction. That's what brought me to the Ringling College in the first place. My second leap of faith was going to the Ringling College. I was accepted, and then I had to, of course, discuss it with Pamela, my wife, and we did. We discussed it long and hard, and we decided that it was worth it, taking a shot to go down to Florida, bring this young family down there. We had no connections here in Florida. We stayed for the next 24 years. I think 18 of that I was still married to my now divorced wife, Pam. But we had a great run down here in Florida, and meanwhile I was carrying this all around. How I broke free of my addictions and got out of that lifestyle was like this. I basically had to look back in my life, go inside myself, follow my lifeline back to the last time that I felt like a worthwhile human being. And I did this. I went back, kept thinking back to when was the last time that you felt worthwhile and good and like you had something to offer to the world. And that was all the way back to when I was 5 years old. I remembered that I used to feel good and happy, and I'd wake up every day with joy and want to go out and explore the world and imagine and pretend and create and all that stuff. And somewhere along the line I had lost that. In between my 5th year and my 22nd year, I had gone completely in the opposite direction where I could find no more joy in life. And so I reached deep. I found that time and I found that feeling that I had back then, and I grabbed as much of it, of course, psychologically and spiritually. I grabbed as much of that power as I could get from back in that day. Hold on to as much of that joy and as much of that hopeful expectation that I could hold on to, and carried it with me from out of regression back to the year 1982 or 83, when I was finally coming out of the haze of alcoholism, and holding on to that, and remembering that those childhood feelings were super important, and for some reason I let them go and replaced them with other feelings that were self-deprecating. For me, it created a block, something I couldn't get around. I needed to feel good enough about myself to create anything good and worthwhile. If I didn't feel good, it's just like love. If I don't love myself enough, or whatever amount of love I can give myself, it's what I have to offer to another person. And I know that now. Like, I know that if I can love myself, I can love others, and it's effective love, and it's non-conditional. It's unconditional love. Without that love of myself, there is no way to get there for me. I have no way of contriving love out of nothingness. So when I was desolate like that, when I was on the edge of self-destruction, I had no way of approaching love or creativity. It just wasn't there anymore. So after getting sober and getting away from all of it at once, in fact, it took me a long time to get there, and I slowly had to little bit of time here staying sober, and then going back and going back for another binge, and then having a little bit longer period of sobriety, and finally one day, and it was after a very, very heavy spiritual vision, and I've had a few of these. I'd speak about them in another future video, future film, that I had some really intense out-of-body experience type spiritual stuff that this one told me that it was time to either get out of the drinking life and the party life, or die in it and move on to whatever's next. Well, I didn't know what was next, so I decided that it's worth staying here and doing the best I can with what I got. If it's complete blackness after this, then I think I made a pretty good decision, because I'm loving life now, and it's all been good. As much as there's been financial woes and issues going on. And oh, by the way, speaking of financial issues, one of the reasons I'm showing this is that I'm showing my artwork to sell it now. And I was saying that before, that to get through college, to pay for my living expenses and things like that, so I can spend more time studying and less time working at a hourly pay job. I'm putting this piece up for sale for $7,500, $7,500, plus shipping and handling and taxes, sales tax. So for $7,500, you can have this in your home and display it proudly. And you'll know the story behind it, because I've just finished telling you the story.